Good afternoon. Welcome to Newark Public Library. If you haven't been in it, don't let this be your first time. Keep coming, your only time. Keep coming, please. Beautiful and historic space. And I have a library card in my pocket. I will pull it out and show you. So before you leave, you can go get you a library card as well if you need to. But this is an incredible day. Just want to obviously thank our governor, Governor Phil Murphy, Secretary Way, and all of the folks that are here from Trenton as well. We want to thank you for this bill, the Assembly folks in the Senate for helping pass this and make this a reality here in the state of New Jersey, particularly in Newark. It is quite apropos for us as we are trying to establish sites of our own to identify the trails and the history of African Americans in this state. Whether you know it or not, down the street a little bit, Rutgers soccer field was, Plain Street Church was one of the stops of abolitionist Frederick Douglass, a part of the Underground Railroad there. That's probably why we need a monument of Frederick Douglass somewhere, at least to signify the fact that he actually stepped foot in Newark and did real work in this community. So it's very, very, very important, whether you're talking about First African Presbyterian Church or all these other places that existed in Newark as official Underground Railroad stops, which very little history is known about the activities of Black African Americans in this county and in this state. It's important that we do this for us, as many of us see our history only as migrants who came here in the first and second wave of the Great Migration from the South. A lot of our history here has been tied to Connecticut, New York, Canada, abolitionists who struggled against slavery openly in very dangerous times. And so a monument is, just on its face, something that we can look at and say this reminds us of history, but it's really an anchor. It is an anchor, a cultural and educational anchor that helps us understand the travels of people in this community, the relatedness that we have with one another, the history of this state, and it allows us to identify where we were, where we are, and where we need to be. So I'm ecstatic about it, particularly since across the street we're building the Harriet Tubman Monument amidst a lot of fanfare. We are excited about what is going to happen there, and I want to thank everybody who is helping us make that happen. One being Audible, who has played a huge role in helping us not just fix the park, but make this monument a reality for us. Nina Cook-John, who is the artist in making this happen for us as well. And so this whole area being renamed Harriet Tubman Square, and we're not getting rid of George Washington, we still have Washington Street there, but Harriet Tubman Square, and we have also turned this into an arts and education district, which will highlight most of the things that we're talking about here today. And lastly, New Jersey, whether we know it or not, has a long history of slavery and acceptance of slave culture in this country. Well after the Revolutionary War, there were still slaves in Newark, in New Jersey. In fact, in the 1800s, Essex County had over 1,000 slaves. So the history of slavery is large in the state, but the history of abolition is even larger here in this state, in this county, and especially Newark. And prayerfully, these trails will highlight the history of abolition of strong and courageous African Americans and their white counterparts who loathed slavery at its root and did whatever they could to eradicate it from this area. So I want to thank the governor once again, who is doing a tremendous job, and I think I have the pleasure of of bringing him up here this is not his first time at the Newark Public Library. We just have to make sure he has a library card when he leaves. But we appreciate his presence here, and we wholeheartedly support this legislation. Thanks to the legislators, the state legislators, who this would not be a reality without you guys making this happen, and thank the governor for signing it. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. What a treat it is to be back in this great institution, this great library. I got a couple of things I have to get off my chest before I praise the mayor and acknowledge many others here. First of all, I went to the eye doctor this morning and he asked me, do you mind if we dilate your pupils? That seemed like a good idea at the time. I can't see a foot in front of me, so I'm going to try to read my remarks. And if I don't introduce you, it's nothing personal today. I literally can't see you to see if I made a mistake. Secondly, I've got 4 children, bless their hearts, and one of them has just started his senior year in college yesterday. That's our son, Charlie. And Charlie has a favorite library joke. So ladies, with your blessing, I'm going to kick things off on a light note, if I may. This guy walks up to the librarian and says, I'd like a quarter pounder, large fries, and a medium Coke. And she says, young man, this is a library. And he said, oh, sorry, I'd like a quarter pounder, large. Okay, I got that off my chest. I hear you. I think you're out there, so thank you for your chuckles. Mayor, what a treat to be with you. You and I are together a lot, and every single time it's for a good cause. And in so many respects, I've said this so many times, as Newark goes, so goes the state of New Jersey. So what a treat it is to be here. And so much, as you said, so much of the history of this city is intertwined with the history of Black New Jersey, whether it's Newark, Essex County, or up and down the state. So it's really fitting to be with you today here and to sign this great piece of legislation. Also honored to be joined by a great colleague, and she's played a vital role in this, the Secretary of State for the great state of New Jersey, Tahisha Way, is with us. To her, to her right, a rock star representing his district in Congress and fighting for not just the residents of his district, but for the residents of the state. Congressman Donald Payne is in the House. So I think we've got the 3 legislative prime sponsors, at least in the Assembly side. Assemblyman Antoine McClellan, all the way up from parts south, chair of the Legislative Black Caucus. I almost gave you chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, got a promotion there, Shavonda Sumter. And Verlina Reynolds Jackson. So to Antoine, Shavonda, and Verlina, thank you for leading the way today. I want to also acknowledge the folks from the brain trust of the library here, and you all are doing a great job, and reiterate the mayor's acknowledgement of the Audible team, who I met with privately for a few minutes and do so much for this city and this state. Other legislators with us today, I see Dr. Herb Conaway's in the House, my friend Don Guardian, Angela McKnight, Eric Simonson, Shanique Spite, Cleopatra Tucker, Jay Weber. Is Jay here? I know Jay was supposed to be here. I don't think Jay's here, Antoine. Ileana, I know, is trying to come. Wayne Richardson is here, president of Freeholder, other commissioners, by the way, Wayne. Great to have you, to you and your colleagues. The ever young Bill Payne is in the House. I know Joe D was trying to make it. Assistant Secretary of State, Dr. Lauren Ziriak Enriquez, and Derek Davis, who we're going to hear from, who's representing the New Jersey Black Cultural and Heritage Foundation. As I mentioned, we'll hear from Derek and a couple of others in a couple of minutes. So today, I am, and to everybody else I may have missed, Reva, I see you back there. Reva Foster's all the way up from Burlington County, and to many others who are with us today. Thank you for your presence and everything you do. So in a few minutes, I'm going to be incredibly proud to sign legislation officially establishing New Jersey's Black Heritage Trail. This is going to be a tremendous cultural and educational partnership between the New Jersey Historical Commission and the New Jersey Black Cultural and Heritage Initiative Foundation. As the mayor said, New Jersey's Black history must be told. It must be celebrated, and not just here in Newark, but all across our state. The Black experience in New Jersey reaches far and wide. It encompasses every county and practically every community. It is the experience of the formerly enslaved who found their freedom when their feet touched the sands of Cape May, brought there by none other than Harriet Tubman, the aforementioned Harriet Tubman. It is the experience of Thomas Mundy Peterson, a school custodian from Perth Amboy, the first Black American to freely cast a ballot after the ratification of the 15th Amendment to the Constitution. It is the experience of the legions of athletes who thrilled crowds at Patterson's legendary Hinchliffe Stadium, by the way, God willing, sooner than later to reopen its majesty, including, by the way, a young ball player for the Negro National League's Newark Eagles named Larry Doby, who in July of 1947 would be the first Black ball player in the American League on his way to a Hall of Fame career. It is the experience as well of countless others, inventors and lawyers, educators and musicians, household names and everyday people that have enriched our state. They are stories which need to be told. They are sites which need to be visited and lives which need to be understood. New Jersey's Black Heritage Trail will do each of these. However, as the mayor rightfully pointed out, if we are to be honest, the history of Black New Jersey is also a history with which our state must also come to terms. Today, we honor our state's diversity. We wear it as a badge of honor. But the truth is that New Jersey has not always been welcoming or supportive of our Black residents. We must remember that New Jersey was the last northern state in which enslaved Black Americans lived, even after the Emancipation Proclamation. We must remember that 150 years ago, our state legislature stood in opposition to the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th Amendments. And there have been countless events which we cannot allow to be erased because they have forced us to confront long-standing inequality and inequities, including right here, the Newark Uprising, among many others. The Black Heritage Trail will ensure that all of our history lives, whether they are celebrations or commemorations. Celebrating and commemorating Black history is not something that we should relegate to only the month of February or to Juneteenth. Black history is New Jersey history. It must be honored every day of the year. This is both, amen. This is both the premise and the promise of the action we take today. 2 weeks ago, longtime legislator and legendary Newarker and dear friend Senator Ron Rice stepped away from public life. And I am moved to note what he said in his letter to his Senate colleagues announcing his decision. And I quote Ron, "Each of you has confirmed my belief that there is always a path forward when we focus with an open and generous heart with what we have in common." I think those words describe today as well. Yes, this will be the Black Heritage Trail, but even more, it is a part of our shared history as New Jerseyans, something to be learned and held close by every person who calls our state home, regardless of where they hail from or who they are. That is what history is meant to be. It is the story of us all as a single society, and the more efforts we make to ensure that everyone's stories are included, the better off we will all be in the end. Now, before in a few minutes I have the pleasure of signing this bill into law, I think it is only appropriate to hear from some of the folks I acknowledged early on, and we'll start with an outstanding colleague, the woman whose portfolio includes the New Jersey Historical Commission. Please help me welcome Secretary of State Tahisha Way.
I have to say, it might be overcast outside, but it is indeed a great afternoon in the great halls of your library, Mr. Mayor. And I am so thrilled to be here. Now, given we are in a library, I have to call forth an author extraordinaire, Mr. James Baldwin, who once said, "History is not the past, it is the present. We carry our history with us. We are our history." As Secretary of State, I've had the distinct privilege of not just carrying our history, but sharing it, given my department includes the New Jersey Historical Commission, whose work includes highlighting that Black history is present. Now, we're speaking of notable sites which may become part of this trail, like those in Camden, where enslaved Africans were brought through the ports to be sold at auctions, in Lawnside, where free Black people built a community and created safety for travelers along the Underground Railroad. In Perth Amboy, as our great governor has said, we saw Thomas Mundy Peterson becoming the first Black person to vote after the ratification of the 15th Amendment. In Princeton, Paul Robeson was born and raised before he shared his artistic and athletic talents with the world. And then finally, in Red Bank, the legendary jazz musician, Count Basie, first learned to play that grand piano. And since 2019, I've worked closely with Stedman Graham and Mr. Derek Davis to revitalize the New Jersey Black Cultural and Heritage Initiative Foundation with the mission of broadening, deepening, and diversifying an understanding and engagement in our Black history and culture. I'm proud that the foundation will be working closely with our Historical Commission as we designate the locations that will comprise the Black Heritage Trail. So, as we lay claim to a full accounting of our state's Black history, many thanks to Governor Murphy and the esteemed members of the legislature. This historic legislation will indeed make it possible for all of us to travel the trails and witness the markers in hopes of creating that more perfect union. Thank you.
Tahisha has if you have a minute, check out the breadth of the portfolio that the Secretary of State has. And she's got a lot of stuff under her, including the Historical Commission, tourism, small item of interest, elections, among others. So, Tahisha, thank you for your leadership. I mentioned him earlier. You couldn't find a better fighter on behalf of the interest not only of the residents of his congressional district, but the residents of the entire state. A great leader. Please help me welcome Congressman Donald Payne.
Thank you, and good afternoon. It's a real honor and a privilege to be here with you this afternoon, and not being remiss, the governor mentioned a bit of something. I was coming in and I saw a couple people, and they said, "Oh, Congressman, I heard you're going to be here to speak today." And I was like, "Really?" I said, "Oh, yeah." I said, "Well, the mayor's here." He said, "Oh, no, we know the mayor is wonderful, but we came to hear you speak." I was like, "Oh, really?" And they said, "Oh, yeah, I heard you the other night. You were wonderful." I was starting to feel pretty good about myself, and I said, "Oh, really? What did I speak about?" He said, I don't know, but you were brief. So in that vein, I will be brief. You know, it's always wonderful to come back to this building. As the mayor said, we've been coming here for decades as youngsters and now as adults. And one of my contributions to this city and to this building, if you notice the ADA compliant ramps outside, that was a project that I finished as a Newark City councilman, and very proud of it every time I see it. Prior to that, it was very difficult for people to traverse getting in the building. So every time I see it, it reminds me of that time at City Hall. And you know, it's really an honor to attend this bill sign and to create the new Black Heritage Trail. I want to thank Governor Murphy for supporting this trail and its efforts to promote equality throughout his time in office. You have truly stepped up to the plate, sir. Thanks to this bill, the New Jersey Heritage Commission will be able to establish a walking path to commemorate Black history. And it's interesting, this path will do some of the work that I acknowledge my uncle, that the Amistad legislation has attempted to do. And so this is the next step in that effort. And we still have a little ways to go in getting Amistad to the finish line. But this will include markers from New Jersey Black Cultural Heritage Initiative Foundation with critical historical events that shaped American society. And it will increase awareness and understanding of Black history, American history. For too long, Black history has been hidden in the shadows. But this trail will help educate locals and tourists on the significant roles Blacks have played in New Jersey's economics, politics, and society. It will help bring Black history out of the shadows and into the public square for discussion where it belongs. So I want to thank Governor Murphy, Mayor Baraka, and everyone here for supporting this move to promote Black history. And I look forward to walking this trail and reading the markers when it's finished. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Congressman. Deep thanks. I think this may be yours. I do masks. Thank you for your leadership and your gracious words. I mentioned a whole string of members of the legislature, and I'm going to ask Shavonda to come up and speak on behalf of them. But it is quite notable, to me at least, that it is a string of names from both sides of the aisle. And I think that says so much about what we're trying to do here today. So the more we can find common ground, the better it is for all of us. I also want to reiterate the Congressman's acknowledgement of his uncle, Bill Payne, the ever young, 90 years young, and any progress we've made in the Amistad Commission is due to him. So thank you, Bill. So with that, speaking on behalf of her colleagues from both sides of the aisle, the chair of the Legislative Black Caucus, please help me welcome Shavonda Sumter.
Good afternoon, everyone. As indicated, I'm Assemblywoman Shavonda Sumter, Chair of the Legislative Black Caucus. At this time, I'd like to ask all the members of the Legislative Black Caucus to please stand. Let's give them a round of applause. And before you sit down, if members of the legislature will also please stand. Simonson, Guardian. Thank you. Thank you. When you have the auspicious job of representing the Legislative Black Caucus, which is 20 members, that includes both Republicans and Democrats, representing Cape May all the way up to Hudson County, with very different issues but common interest, and that's taking care of people. One of the things that Senator Rice also taught us was that when we take care of Black and brown people issues, we're taking care of the least of those. We're taking care of the impoverished. We're taking care of our children. We're taking care of our vulnerable seniors. So I'd like to think that as this legislative body has worked diligently over the past 3 years, in partnership with the governor, who has a heart for service and a heart for people, in partnership with mayors, our congressional delegation, federal delegation, and county leaders, that we really worked hard to be sure that we create equity and that we move past a culture of cancel culture, but move forward towards recognizing our history. In the words of Maya Angelou, we are our ancestors' wildest dreams. It is our job to carry forth the torch that has been placed on our shoulders to continue to move the mission forward of former Assemblyman William Payne. It is our job to make sure that we keep history alive. I had the privilege of serving as the chair when the legislation actually came through our committee. It was impactful to hear the stories of our ancestors that had the same common themes, even though it wasn't my grandparents who traveled from the South to the North. It was impactful to see the eye-opening of people who didn't look like us, who came from the South, to hear those stories and have it equate to some of the immigration movements that they had as their own families moving to the United States or to different parts of the world, just so that they can have the freedom to live, breathe, work, and thrive. So for us as a legislature, we won't be silent. The Black Caucus is not shy. We work hard to change the hearts of those who may not see our plight, to tell the history of New Jersey's history. I hail from the city of Paterson, where we actually have a trail where Harriet Tubman came through. Hinchcliffe Stadium will open in March of 2023, so thank you, Governor, for that, to restore to its glory where the National Negro League actually played baseball. It's up to us to take care of our historic institutions, such as this library, so we can continue to educate our communities and to have markers. I was at the Perth Amboy marker unveiling where they didn't even know that ships traveled through to port for slavery, and you can feel the spirit speaking through the waters. And as I thought about the gravity of what we were doing here today by this bill signing, it's not just perfunctory. It means that we have a leader who cares about all of us. It means that we have a leader who cares about our history. It means that we have partners on both sides of the aisle in the state of New Jersey who still believes in people power. So we have to continue to amplify that type of work, throw some of that off in Washington to help our congressmen out. And we have to be the change that we believe we can be for the next generation. So I thank you, Governor, for signing. I thank you, Mayor, for welcoming us into your city and into the library. And thank each of you for finding it not robbery to take your time to be here today. God bless.
Shavonda, thank you, and to each of your colleagues. No matter how many good ideas I might have or our team might have, this doesn't happen until a bill brought to you by all of you gets to our desk, so deep thanks. By the way, we've got to my left books by Black Americans, and to my right books, a sampling of books about Black Americans. So when we're finished in a few minutes, please check it out. Tahisha mentioned, I think it was Tahisha mentioned Stedman Graham. I want to give him a shout out in absentia as I think he's the co-chair of the board. And here representing the New Jersey Black Cultural and Heritage Foundation is one of its leaders and a great leader, Derek Davis. Derek, come on down, man.
Good afternoon. I'm Derek Davis, board member of the Camden County Historical Society and the New Jersey Black Heritage Foundation, formerly known as New Jersey Black Cultural and Heritage Initiative Foundation. I am speaking on behalf of Stedman Graham, who I was with Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Had we known a little bit earlier, he would have been here today. Co-chairs of the foundation, the board members, Professor Wendell White, Joe Jacobs, and Ralph Hunter. Governor, we are so deeply appreciative of your support for the Black Heritage Trail. legislation. This is Henry Mathis, taken in 1895. This photo is my great-great-grandfather, born in 1853 in Greenville, Alabama, Butler County. He was a mulatto enslaved African, as was his wife, Molly. This day, Governor, is as important to me as the birth of my son, who today is Dr. Derek Davis, internal medicine, Jr. This legislation, similar to the statue that's going to be erected next year, represents not only Harriet Tubman, but also the continuing tradition of resistance, self-emancipation, and community support, which enables truth-telling, freedom, and justice. The foundation completed our first objective with the installation of 3 markers in Camden related to African-American history. Our Senator Cory Booker, Stedman Graham, Lieutenant Governor Oliver, and Secretary Way were guest speakers at these installation ceremonies. Some people think about how they're shaped by their biological DNA of their ancestors, but they don't realize how much they're also shaped by the historical DNA. When most people think of slavery, they envision a southern plantation with 50 or more enslaved Africans. Not so. New Jersey slavery was as common as any southern region in the late 1700s and early 1800s. In June 2014, I was reading a Philadelphia Inquirer article which told the story of the Haddon Heights Historical Society slave marker being removed. I was appalled and wrote a letter to the editor. I won't read the letter that the Inquirer printed, but you can Google it. And while reading my rebuttal, I had an epiphany like no other in my life that led to monthly meetings with Secretary Way, which resulted in Bill A588, sponsored by Assemblyman William Spearman, in conjunction with Assemblyman Antoine McClendon's bill for the establishment of the historic Black Heritage Trail. Whether as part of New Jersey's Underground Railroad or the contributions of people of African descent, not limited only to slavery, the great unmentionable, nor restricted to the state's colonial period, there are many unacknowledged African-American historical places of significance that we pass every day here in New Jersey. Stedman said to me this morning, the New Jersey Black Heritage Commission mission is the importance of recognizing the rich history of African-Americans in the state. It's way past due, as there are many who have contributed to the history of the state. Governor and his Chief of Staff, George Hemley, have been very supportive of the rich history of New Jersey. Hailing from New Jersey, Stedman speaking, I recognize the importance of the work the governor is doing in expanding the rich history of New Jersey, and I'm proud to be part of the foundation and Murphy's team. Governor, my fellow Wharton alum, monetarily speaking, African Americans spent $61 billion on travel in the United States in the last year of 2019, and historical sites are all the rage now. Thus, New Jersey stands to significantly receive these tourism dollars. The significance of the signing, Governor, cannot be overstated. Quite frankly, it's monumental. In conclusion, if we omit this history, it is as if we are looking at ourselves with just one eye. We as a people and nation have too long been selective in how we understand and talk about history. This reservoir of information that these Black Heritage Trails will reveal and its public acknowledgement will teach us who we once were and conceptualize who we are, pointing us towards a better future. Thank you.
Derek, thank you, and God bless both your ancestors and your team members to follow, including the good doctor. Deep appreciation for your great words, and please give Stedman my best and everybody else associated with the foundation. So that's it. All we got left to do is to sign this bill, so let's get at it, folks. Thank you all. This is Assembly Bill number 2677. Sponsors, as I mentioned earlier, Antoine McClellan, Relina Reynolds Jackson, Shavonda Sumter, the Assembly, Senators Troy Singleton and Michael Testa in the Senate, and then many others who are both with us today and could not be here. And the synopsis requires New Jersey Historical Commission to establish Black Heritage Trail, permits New Jersey Black Cultural and Heritage Initiative Foundation to use funds for markers on certain trail sites, and appropriates $1 million. As appropriate, pen number 1 goes to our host, the great mayor of the great city of Newark, Roz J. Baraka. Secretary of State Tahisha Way. Tahisha. How the Giants going to beat Tahisha? Okay. Congressman Donald Payne. Assemblywoman and Chair of the Legislative Black Caucus. We heard from her, Shavonda Sumter. Won't take more than an hour or so. Assemblyman all the way up from Cape May, Antoine McClellan. We just heard from him. Let's get it up one more time for Derek Davis, representing the Black Cultural and a couple of folks who are not here. We've got to give a pen and a shout out to County Executive Joe DiVincenzo of Essex County. Right behind him, I mentioned him as one of the 2 prime sponsors in the Senate, Senator Troy Singleton. The aforementioned and a great leader in his own right, Stedman Graham. And from that end, Mercer County is in the house. Please help me acknowledge Assemblywoman Verlina Reynolds Jackson. One more absentia to Senator Michael Testa. There we go. Sarah, that's you, right? All right, last but not least, I thought I was going to forget you, the Executive Director of the New Jersey Historical Commission, Executive Director Sarah Curita. Sarah, congratulations. And I have the great honor, and this is a particular honor with this bill, I guess we could say it with every bill, but in this one, I'm going to stand up actually and say it if I may. This is now, thanks to a lot of folks with me and beyond, is now the law of the land.